IHSA Volleyball Vintage Broadcast. I'm Tracy Henry, one of the Assistant Executive Directors here at the Illinois High School Association. And in this broadcast, we're going to talk about the 2010 IHSA Volleyball Class 1A Championship game between Heyworth and Scales Mound. Joining me today to share some perspectives from the Scales Mound team are team players and also coaching staff. Team captain of the 2010 team, Nicole Winter-Bush, and current Scales Mound head coach. 2010 head coach Angie Winter and former and current assistant coach Carrie Werner. Welcome to the Country Financial Vintage Volleyball broadcast. We're excited to have you here with us today. Back in 2010, when you started this season, what were your team goals then?
Oh boy. I think our whole team just had the mentality of wanting to win. So I think when Coach Winter had us write our season goals, it was win a tournament, win regionals, if I can remember correctly.
All right. And how about you, Coach Winter? When did you really see things kind of coming together for your team and knowing that maybe Redbird Arena might be within reach?
Well, I was thinking about the goals, as you had said, and I know that we played in 4 tournaments that year in the regular season. And I know that those were some of our big goals, was to do well in those. We really felt we had the upper hand in those tournaments. And as we progressed, I was thinking about this last night, throughout when we got into October, a lot of times with teams, you start to see the lull, especially if there's losing more. Into the beginning of October, I thought, we're gonna keep moving here, because they just got on a roll. It was like, let's just play ball. Practices weren't, the thing they wanted to do. They wanted to compete. They wanted to compete now, and get in those other gyms and just get after the other teams. And it just kind of got to be that same thing. It was like they just almost never got off the bus. It was just next team, next team, next team. Let's just keep playing and winning. And I started to think, this is a really great outlook for regionals. But honestly, Redbird was really not, it was like a dream to think, yeah, maybe on a lucky night. I thought maybe there'd have to be a lot of luck to get past who we had to in regionals, get past Eastland, to get that far. So,
Angie, do you remember the conversation that we had with the kids when they asked, what are you going to give us if we win regionals? And we were like, yeah, whatever, we'll take you somewhere overnight. And then one of them piped in and said, what will you give us if we win state or if we go to state? And we laughed and we were like, we'll take you anywhere you want to go. So I think we still owe them like a trip to Cancun or something.
Yeah, you're right. That is right. I forgot that conversation. Yeah.
Nicole, talk about playing in that very final set. You win the first one, lose the second one. The third set is just a battle back and forth, especially right down to the very last point. What was that like with your teammates there on the court?
I would say toward that last set, it was definitely, we were a lot more nervous, especially in that third set, only because we knew that was it. No matter what happened, we were seniors and that was our last game, or that was our last game playing with our teammates. Mm-hmm. Again, those last few points just seemed to rattle off so quickly. It just like almost happened and we were like, wait a second, we need to go back. This didn't just happen that quick. I think we just got nervous and that it was over, that our run was over. No matter what happened in this game, everything was over. And like I said, it just happened so quickly. I think we were all just shocked when the final whistle blew and it was over.
Angie, what do you say to your team when that final whistle is over? It's such a battle. You come up just a little short. What was your message after a record-breaking season?
Wow, that's a good question, because I too felt like Nicole. It went so fast, and I know there were decisions I would have done differently in those last points. I think the message to them at the time was even the same throughout the season was, they had given Scales Mound something we'd never had before. It was a ride. It was, wow, I did not expect that to happen.
Okay.
There was a lot of people that we meant something to. We set examples for a lot of little kids that were in high school now, like Carrie said about Annie, and there were a lot of people that were riding on our backs. We carried people a long way, and they appreciated that. They were grateful for it. Scales Mound, our sea of green behind you there is still a memory, but the people from other neighboring towns that were on the ride with us, and how I just didn't expect that outpouring, but the girls knew, I think it came to them in that moment too of, wow, we just carried everybody this far. And like Nicole said, now we're done. And that's when their emotion finally hit, because most of the rest of the season they were laughing and joking around. And sometimes we couldn't get them to stay focused in practice. And who knows what was said in huddles sometimes. But, that was the final moment of when we realized we took a lot of people a long way, and it was a big deal.
That's great. So Nicole, talk about it 10 years later. So much of what we do here at the IHSA is championships, but at the end of the day, our goal is really to have an extension of educational based athletics. So playing on a high school sports team with your teammates and representing your community and your town, 10 years later, what do you reflect on, and what does that brought into your life now as a coach?
Really just the mentoring that we received from these two coaches, not in playing, but about life. Like, you show up to practice, you show up on time, you have responsibilities that you need to take care of, and, school comes first, playing volleyball comes second. And it's just about, now I just think about, you're mentoring young women, and there's a lot of life experiences that they can, get from just playing volleyball. And it doesn't matter where they take me as a coach or as a player, whether we win or lose, they're learning something. So.
Carrie, reflecting back on that time at the state championship, what's a memory or two that really come top of mind?
Oh, there's so many. I think more of it is the memories that I have that really stick out were actually more of the things that didn't have a lot to do with the actual games of volleyball. It was seeing some of alumni from town that we hadn't seen in years showing up with their green t-shirts. So it was like this giant class reunion. All of our friends were there. All of our families were there. We had a great time with the girls in the bus. The hotel room was fun. I think it was more that atmosphere that I remember the most, of just being there, of the whole town coming out, and, us kind of just taking over Bloomington. That really is what sticks, I think, with me the most.
Angie, how about you? What's really the highlight when you reflect back on this journey 10 years ago?
I think still, as I just spoke of, the people, that came up and thanked me after this was over, the people that came up and hugged and we're going to state, and the people that, just like Carrie said, the people from all ages, people I heard from, emails, letters in the mail that, were so distant from Scales Mound, that you wouldn't have thought even paid attention, but I think that's the thing, is just knowing that the community was so touched, and it really truly shows you how much student athletes and athletics in school just sticks with a person, and how much it means to have something be such a big part of your heart and your being, So yeah, it was great to be that presence for so many people.
Yeah, it was so surreal when we come from a high school, because Angie and I both graduated from here as well. Angie was actually my high school coach, and so when you graduate from a school, or you play a sport for a school of anywhere between 60 and 70 kids in our high school, our community is about state. Our are always to win a regional. This year of our basketball was the first time we had even won a sectional game in basketball and volleyball this year. So it was so surreal to be there, because it was nothing that we had ever even thought would ever happen to our town. So I think that was part of what was so surreal about being looking around during the national anthem and thinking, holy moly, we're here. We actually made it here. Our little town, our 9 girls took our whole community there. It was so surreal. It was like our town had won the lottery.
So cool.
Really happy that, to look over and see our entire section completely full, even pouring out into some other people's sections. And then, if you watch the 2A, 3A, 4A schools, they have, maybe 50 people there. So it was so cool to play in front of that many people, because you knew no matter what happened on the court, that many people were still going to be proud of us. You honestly felt walking around in the schools, in the community, and even still today, people stop me and say, hey, we're on the state team. You really do feel like a little local celebrity. And, now as a coach, I would love to experience it as a coach, especially since I've experienced as a player. I think maybe I would tell my players to, take a minute to just soak it all in and, really try to truly remember everything that's going on here.
And head coach Angie, from the 2010 team, give me your final highlight or your final reflection.
I think finally my thoughts sitting here right now really are the fact that, as Carrie said, our little mighty fine 9, as we called them once in a while, they're well-oiled machine, all these words that we started to use with them. I could not be more proud or more humbled to have had this experience given to me by these girls. I've coached a lot of years. A lot of great young ladies I've dealt with and coached, and been so proud to call, their coach and Hornets. But to be with these girls and to have them given this gift to me as a coach is just beyond compare. And of course, I got to share it with my daughter. So, it was a big deal. And as Carrie said, I coached Carrie, I coached Nicole. Nicole coached my daughter. Nicole's going to coach Carrie's daughter. It's just this big full circle. And it kind of shows you what our community is made of.
Joining me to share some perspectives are the players from the 2010 Heyworth team: outside hitter Dakota Springer, middle hitter Cassidy Kingery Fisher, and setter Kelly Schaefer Aho. Welcome, ladies, to the Country Financial Vintage Volleyball broadcast. We're excited to have you here today. So we're going to start out and just talk a little bit about what your season was like, and then how the season progresses to that state championship game at Redbird Arena. So Dakota, did you think that you had a championship team at the start of the season? And if not right at the start of the season, when did that start to develop?
So I actually remember, I think it was day 1 of our practices, our coach, Coach Vogel, she had us write down goals for our season. And actually, I think one of mine was to win state. I don't think that I was truly convinced when I wrote that down, of course, but I think, I don't know, we were 33-3. Before we started regionals, I don't remember what our record was, but I do remember thinking like, oh my gosh, do we actually have a chance at this? We beat Blue Ridge. I think that was our championship regional match, I think. So after that happened, I feel like honestly it was definitely within reach. So I was hopeful in the very beginning, but I think after our regional match against Blue Ridge, I think I was pretty confident that we had a good shot.
Awesome. Kelly, tell me a little bit about some of the challenges maybe throughout the season that your team had to overcome.
Yeah, so I think the thing that comes to mind first for me was our 2 matches against DMAC. They were the last week of regular season, so right before regionals started. At that point, we had only lost once before that, and so we ended up losing both of those matches to DMAC, pretty much back to back. They were really close sets and close matches, and so I think kind of getting that taste of like being close, but then coming out on the losing side, that definitely kind of fueled our fire a little bit heading into postseason, just kind of really pushed us forward into regionals and sectionals, and I think it just kept carrying over.
So Cassidy is a new mom, and she's got a special guest that's joining us for today's interviews. Cassidy, can you tell us a little bit about the mentality of your team when you qualified to go to the state finals at Redbird Arena?
Oh, I think we were fired up. I mean, so it's something that's not super common, in a small town. And so just to have the community's support, just absolutely backing us was something that I thought was just, all the more reason to go out there and give it your all for the community. And it was such a fun experience to be able to, be a part of that and to be able to, lead the community on such a endeavor. I mean, just something that nobody had ever done at that point. So it was really fun.
Okay, so your team was down 2024 to Scales Mound, and you went on a 5-0 run. Talk a little bit about how you guys maintain that aggressiveness to come back and win the final match.
I think just everyone's overall confidence in each other and in themselves. Like I was saying, it was a shocking feeling to come back from such a deficit, especially at the end of the entire match. But just the confidence in everybody and in ourselves. And
Cassie, tell me a little bit about serving those final points. Did you have nerves? Was it all confidence? What was going through your mind at that time?
It's mixed emotions. I'm not going to lie and say you don't think if I miss this, we're done. But I remember being thankful that it wasn't a 15-point third set match. And, there's such a fine line between, serving aggressive to where they're out of system or they don't get such an easy setup.
Kelly, you said your favorite moment was really the final point. Walk us through that final point when you won the state championship for the first time ever as Heyworth High School volleyball.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just kind of like the perfect representation of our team. That I think it was the longest rally of the match. But everybody on the floor contributed to winning that point. It was, like I said, a long rally. We had some digs that, we probably were just sticking an arm out, trying to keep the ball off the floor, but everyone just kind of committed 100% to that point. And the one thing I wish was that someone on our team would have earned that point for us. But at the end of the day, we did everything that we needed to put ourselves in a position to win. So, I think it's just one of those things that you'll never really forget everything that happens. Dakota's sprawling out, getting a pancake and all this stuff. So it's just kind of shows what our mentality was every point of the season, not even just in that match. We're all competitors. We're never going to give up, and we're just going to go out and try and accomplish our goals.
Awesome. Okay, now just talk a little bit about your experience as a high school athlete, what it meant to you, and how it's helped you now 10 years later with where you are in your life today. So I'm going to start with you, Dakota.
I think that being a high school athlete, you have to find a balance of your academics and your training within the school sport and training without the school sport. I know myself, I was super busy in high school. I know Kelly and Cassie were both super busy with extracurriculars and doing other sports outside of our schooling. So I think learning to balance all of that really helped, after high school, while I was in college, even, studying for exams after college for my job now. Balancing social life, work life, everything. I mean, I really do think that athletes do lead the best lives because, we've been busy our whole lives and we've learned how to manage all of that.
Really, same question for you, Cassie. Just talk about that high school experience playing for your community.
I would agree with Dakota. I feel like athletics teach us so much more, so much more than just competitive skills. It teaches you about confrontation, conflict resolution. It teaches you how to work as a cohesive team. And I don't know how many times I brought that up to my boss that I truly enjoy working with, high school athletes, college athletes the best because they know how to take criticism. They don't take it personally. You can have a constructive, conversation. They're encouraging. They're constantly surveying the room and seeing what needs to be done. My bulldog now. What needs to be done. And they just do it. They don't wait for somebody to tell them to do it. They just hop in and they help. And I truly think that's an attribute of an athlete who can time manage well. And I don't know. I'm all in favor of student athletes.
And Kelly, talk a little bit about your experience, and then you're now a head coach at an IHSA member high school at Lexington High School. Talk a little bit about your experience as a student athlete and how it led to your coaching career.
Well, I mean, obviously, it grew my love for the sport enough to where I never wanted to fully give it up. I didn't want to make that choice between, a career in volleyball because it always, it was such a big part of me. And so being able to continue that relationship with volleyball, grow myself now as a coach instead of a player, and help the student athletes that I coach kind of hopefully grow that same love for the sport that I had. It's something that I'm really thankful for, and
I'll just say that I'm thankful for my fellow teammates. It was truly a full team effort. To the community, thank you. We would go eat breakfast at school at 5 a.m. and the cooks would come in early and they'd make a special breakfast. And it's just you don't get that, in somewhere other than a small community. So I just want to extend my thanks again to everybody who truly made an effort, big and small. It meant the world to us, and obviously we're still high on the feeling, and it sticks with us forever.
I agree. I think it's a memory that it's been 10 years and we still reminisce about it.
You learn so much more from those kinds of experiences, being a women's sport in a small town, it's usually overshadowed by, high school football, that's the big draw, but to really see the community come out and support us, and treat us like we're a big deal and really feel that support from them, I think meant a lot to us, because we all go to the football games, but to see people come out and support us, and help us, get to where we were. Because, we always thought that the fans were such a huge part of our success that year. So just knowing that they're there for us and that, our teammates are there for us and we all kind of share the same goals and visions. It's just something that you'll never forget and something that you're always thankful for.
Well, Kelly and Dakota, Cassie, thanks for joining us today to share some reflections from the 2010 IHSA Girls Class 1A Volleyball Championship between Heyworth and Scales Mound. Truly a vintage volleyball classic. Now let's go see the action at Redbird Arena.